So first thing, if you don't enjoy learning about Overwatch, then just play casually. Like, don't play on a team. If you're playing on a team, that means you want to improve. And if you want to improve, that means you got to learn. Okay. So I'm guessing all of you are here because you want to improve. So thank God. So mental. It's the first thing. Honestly, it's before everything else. Don't focus on your team. You can't change anything about your teammates. I mean, in a scrim environment, you can, and you should say stuff. And criticism isn't like a bad thing. It's mostly coming from information that another person doesn't have. So that's good. Okay. It's fine to criticize each other. Don't be angry if someone says something. Just take it and get better. Okay. Play to get better, not win. Fundamental overviews. We have map and map knowledge. This is the base of base. Okay. This is before space. You can't have space without a map and without understanding the map to a certain level. You guys are in the middle ranks. I'm guessing you have played the maps at least. Okay, that's the base that we're starting at. The new maps, I don't expect you to know too much about them, but you should learn them. You should learn all the high grounds, all the megas, or the minis. That's basically, and where a payload moves and where the point is. That's the minimum that you gotta know. Okay, so basic fundamentals. We're gonna go over just space, just the space. Looking at this, it looks like a lot for you guys to learn over a while, but looking at this actually motivates me. I have to do this once in a while because honestly, it's sometimes you're like, oh my God, I did everything right. Why did we lose that game? And then I look at this, I'm like, oh, right. My space management was not good. I didn't control the choke correctly. I didn't understand what my job was on defense, offense. I didn't stay in LOS of my supports. I didn't use natural cover. I didn't use the high grounds effectively. My abilities and ability cooldown management was bad. And roles, by roles, it means this is straight from A10. This is, there are some playstyles where you take advantage of when abilities are already used, and there are some roles where you get the abilities out. So to think Tracer, Tracer wants abilities to be out. So a Tracer doesn't want to go on Ana if she has sleep. Risky for her. So if someone else can get the sleep out of Ana, then the Tracer can get a more effective fight. Obviously, we're not talking about roles. I just wanted to highlight it real quick. Advanced fundamentals. Again, we're not talking about any of this. We're going to talk about space in this VOD, in this VOD review. But we'll just, the overview. Defaulting, we don't want to default. Defaulting means doing the obvious. Just walk down main, hold shield, walk in, not looking around, not using corners, not using anything. You're just doing what you've seen 1,000 times over and over, even though it's been solved and people know how to punish you for it. Flanking, using the flanks correctly, using those characters correctly, and using characters that maybe are not usually flanked with correctly in the flank. L shapes are corners. If you look at a corner, like let's see this one, this choke has this L, and it also has L over here. You want to always be on the shorter side of the L, if possible, right? So if you're on this side, it's better than this side because this L is very long. So, I don't know if I can draw on this. Yes, I can. Oh, no, I can't. Okay, just imagine it. There's a line here. There's a line here. You want to be on the shorter side. That means you're closer to multiple corners, which means you have multiple places to hide. Okay. Off angles. I think you understand this. It's an angle that not traditionally used. Think a high ground angle on a choke. A little hidey spots here and there. Those are off angles. Your not off angles is anything in lanes. Anything in lanes is not really an off angle. Then we have lane control, which we'll talk about lanes, but we won't talk about how to control them. We'll just talk about actual space that lanes provide. And based off of that, we'll build other stuff on top of it. Kill feed. I'm guessing most of you don't look at kill feed. I don't look at kill feed. It's a problem.
Jesus Christ, you don't. It's annoying.
Yeah, it's a problem. So there are other ways to get the information that kill feed gives you that I need to do, which is look around, look at your team. Every time you're behind a wall, look at your team. Make sure they're there. Make sure no one has died yet. Stuff like that. Again, that's all with space, and we'll see in a second in this example right below. Ultimate management, especially important for scrims. I would say this is even a basic fundamental for scrims. You need to do this in scrims. Team compositions, again, this mostly your coach will give you team compositions, but on the fly changes need to be done. So if you're getting hard countered, you need to know that you're getting hard countered and need to switch accordingly, or just play differently to counter their counter pick. Your macros, we're not going to talk about this in this situation, but these also build off your macros, and then they build off the space you build also. Parallel push, pushing in a flank or two lanes at the same time. Power positions, positions that are very strong to get a tank or any player out of. Value recognition, understanding when an enemy player or space is not being taken. So you go or kill that player, take that space. You got to take that value, keep that value. Kill boxes, this very heavily goes off of space, and you'll see how we make kill boxes. We want to teach you how to dynamically make kill boxes, so you don't have to just have set kill boxes. Understand that set kill boxes help you understand, but if you know space, it's very easy to set kill boxes, and you'll see that in a second. Ebb and flow, again, this is straight from Item, this exact thing. He likes to talk about this a lot. This is when you're in the zone and you're kind of just letting like the water wash you in and out as you go for attack and then back up defense. Understanding that back and forward, that's ebb and flow. So space. Do you want to go, Bill?
I was gonna go over. I have Overwatch load. I was gonna talk about the different lanes in Li Shang. That's like a better example. But if
Okay,
you want to
then
keep going, if
I'll
you want to
give,
keep going about the Dorado, that's fine.
okay, I'll talk about the overview and then I'll push it to you. You'll stream that. Okay, space. We'll break down space into 3 zones, which is friendly, contested, enemy. And just based off the names, you should have already a map, a very simple map of where these zones are, where the enemy is, where the friends are, and where you can see the enemy and the enemy can see you. That's contested space. The lanes are your left, main, right. Sadly, in Overwatch, we don't really use set names like CS or Valorant, so we use lanes instead. They are relative to the side that your team is on from the choke. So you'll see in this example exactly what I mean by that. Space can be taken and given. You want to always take, obviously, unless you doing it on purpose. You're giving space in the main so that you can take space in different lanes. We'll see that as well. Space is the second building block for all concepts. If you don't understand space, you can't do kill boxes. You can't do like basically any of these. You can't flank. You can't take advantage of L shapes. If you don't understand what space you have, what space you don't have, you can't take advantage of that stuff. Space also allows you for that freedom of expression of macro understanding. So examples, setting up kill boxes. You can't set up kill boxes without really understanding space, unless you're doing set kill boxes. But that just it's not as good as dynamically making them. So here's the example. The yellow is the lane. So we have one lane here, one lane here, one lane here. You can see my mouse, right? I'm guessing
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Red is SF Shock. This is an old game, but that doesn't matter. Just look at the space. Green is LA Valiant, and then the orange is contested. As you notice, the orange is where any team can fight. Like it's usually your choke and your side like spaces. In this situation, SF Shock doesn't have any control of this right lane, so all of it is for LA Valiant. But if they did have, then this would be contested space right where the stairs are. Okay. To expand the zone, you got to use abilities. Very difficult to not use them. By the way, when I say abilities, that's including HP, ammo, anything like that. You need to use your abilities. Most likely, to take enemy territory, you're going to need to use your more powerful abilities, your actual cooldowns. So stuff like shield, maybe your grasp, maybe a dive, so where you use a lot of abilities at once to do that. Now, this is the most important part of all this. To get out of the enemy zone, you need to use abilities. So if you're a tracer and you blink into the enemy zone, you better have an ability to get out. You will not be able to walk out. If they punish you correctly, there is no way to get out without using an ability. So if you're a monkey, you jump in, you better have a bubble and foresight to see that the bubble might last long enough that you get another jump, or primal to get out. or you walk into enemy space and then jump out. You need to always keep at least one ability to get out. Now, the ability doesn't have to be mobility. Think Sigma. He could walk into enemy space, shield, then grasp to get out. But he's using abilities to get out. That's the most important. So now I'm going to throw it to Bill, where he'll show you an actual example in game. And hopefully that will explain it a little bit more. Go ahead, Bill. Stream. While that's happening, any questions? That was a lot of information, I know.
That was actually the first Overwatch League game.
Yeah, that seems about right. I just grabbed the random image off Google.
Alright, gotcha. That was literally game 1, map 1.
Oh, nice. Okay. Can everyone see my stream?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Lijiang, we've all scrimmed it. We all know it. We know the mega's over there. We know there's a mega there. We know there's a mega there. We all know where to stand. We all know how to play this. We all know where we speed boost. We don't know. We all played it. I'm not gonna go much depth into it, but I kinda want. Actually, hold on.
Yeah, go flyer. Yeah.
Yeah, actually. So the way P2 was talking about the lane's a different thing, like, was generally is generally the right idea with was generally the right ideas with everything, but the one thing to talk about is the contested space and like where do we want to stand and abuse the space. So I'm just gonna this is not a good example for a flyer. Either of the other ones would be better. Please, either. Alright, this works. So I'm going. Okay, so would be. Did I? Yes, I did. Wow, I did the other way. Let's go back up. Okay, so the best way to look at the map is basically in a 9-9 is a 3x3 grid. So if we look at the map very particularly, so let's imagine we're on this side of the map, we're offensive against blue. So our first lane is here. The second lane would be the midpoint here, and the third lane would be over there. And of course, this is for horizontal. The vertical lane would end right here at this choke point. The middle lane would end right here. And the last lane is, of course, that mega. And if you look really carefully, it's a 9x9. And so whenever
3x3.
Yeah, 3x3. Okay, my bad. So whenever people are pushing, you walk out of lane 2, and then you can either use it to get into lane 3 or use it to get it into lane 1. So we all played brawl comps, right? We all played the brawl comps where we go here, we speed, and we go here. So in the sense of control and space, you take control of this grid space here and this corner of the map, and you allow them, the other team, to of course take control of this side of the map. And so the contested space would be here, 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 and there. So when controlling space, you need to prioritize your resources in different areas. So for instance, let's talk about a poke comp. Let's just talk about a poke comp. So let's imagine you guys come out of here, your Sigma's standing right here, your Sigma wants to edge his way to point eventually or kill. So he has a certain amount of resources, his grasp, shield, rock, and Sigma wants to do something with it. So let's say Sigma wants to walk forward and push on the enemy backline and or the enemy tank. So if the tank's taking up basically this whole side of the map, that gives your DPS space to do whatever it wants. So the DPS, so let's say your tracer contests over here and taking the unknown no man's land. And the why I call it no man's land is because if you notice in the picture with P2, there was like at least half of the map that was not really being used for anything. Overwatch 1, that was kind of generally the case, especially that's kind of an older picture, is that people don't really expand the map, but especially at, like, I'd say 3, 5 and below, a lot of teams don't expand the map, especially DPS teams or DPS players. So if you're a tracer and your team's just taking space, you want to try and hold the high line. So like, let's say your Sigma is right here, try and hold the line, control the mega, and even if you just sit here on the mega and just sit here as a DPS, you are just making so much space and you just kind of poke, and it forces them. So you just owned a big L, which is about 60% of the map, and that forces the enemy team to either A, use resources on you, B, resources on your tank, or C, on their backline. But the con to this, of course, is you're not. This is weaker than this. This, of course, your middle lane's weaker, right? So you have resources over here, you have resources over here, because everyone on the team has resource time management. The best way to explain it is you individual as a resource, like a Sigma or Zarya has a resource of bubbles and shields and rocks and grabs and fluxes. DPS has the time management and the skill level to one clip as Tracer on the flank or just contest the space or do lots of damage individually. Same thing with an Ana, Moira. Everyone has their niches and stuff. So when you take away resources from a particular lane and you control the space, your team in theory gets weaker. And so if the other team had speed boost or like a Zarya and said, hey, their Sigma's weak, let's just run into him. And of course, if the Sigma isn't peeled enough, resources aren't being poured back into him, he's going to lose like all but this lane here and back him to this lane, and then you guys just went from owning 60% of the map to back to 40% of the map or less. Does that kind of make sense? And like a visual example more?
You're confusing them, maybe.
Maybe? Is there any like confusion of what I'm
the
saying?
example he gave when like a tracer is pushing left side and your Sig is pushing main, that's a parallel push. You're taking space by taking advantage of the fact that no one's on the left side of Bill at the moment. That's no man's land. If a tracer pushes there, that means his Sig can push up, and if he does exactly that, the enemy team has only two options: use abilities to contest the fight in main, or back up and regroup. That's their only two options. Okay, so that's an application of space, and you can look at space as the grid 3 by 3, where the main 3 grids in front of you are relative to your tank, wherever he is, basically.
I'm trying to think if there are any more like examples with like particular comps.
Do we have a VOD? Anyone want to donate a comp match?
A comp match or a scrim code. Anyone want to donate one of those?
Trust.
I
We're
could
not
donate randomizer cup 1.
Sure, I don't really care.
randomizer cup should work, yeah.
W sounds fun to me. Give me a second.
It's better than a comp match actually, in my opinion.
It's like I can give you a titanium scrim code if you want.
Okay, that works. Yeah, that works too. Scrim
Okay.
Scrim code's better if you can, please.
Okay, just anyone.
Anyone, anytime, any win, any loss. It just doesn't really matter. I'm literally just gonna take a snap. I'm literally just gonna take a snapshot of a fight and draw the lines of the spaces. That's all I'm gonna do.
All right. Well, here's
Wait.
Yeah, you can just text it to me
a.
or
Okay.
just. Discord.
Copy.
Where's my epic pen?
Okay. Any of those can work, so you can choose from any of those.
You got it, Bill?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, good.
To open the epic pen and then stop the stream, then minimize my game, then open the game, and make it windowed. You know,
Fair enough.
so epic pen works. Or why is not epic pen not working?
I can do it if you want.
Sure, yeah, because epic pen doesn't work. I'll send you the code.
Okay, let's see. Menu options. Windowed. Good. Take this. Stream that. Oh no, not stream it like that. We'll stream it like this.
You have to share screen. Yeah.
Do you see the epic pen?
No, you have to share screen. You can't share Overwatch.
Share it, watch there though. There we go.
There you go. There's that.
Use the overlay. Okay. Okay. Create profile.
History. You have to go to history.
History.
Or-
That's it. Replays, not game reports. Lijiang. Nice. I mean, it's a scrim code. There's always a Lijiang. Okay. We'll look at this map first. I'll do it as quickly as possible. I'm just going to draw the lines. So this is where this fight started. Let me turn on spectate overlay. Okay, good. Go in. Okay, now this is stuck. What if I click? Nice. Okay. Okay. So we are. Doesn't matter which team. I'm guessing we're red team, right?
Yes.
Okay. I recognize a few names from that team, so I'm just gonna assume that. Okay. Let me go a little bit higher actually. How high can I go before I clip through the ceiling? Oh, it's open.
You could switch it to the other maps and just make it easier.
I mean, I'll
The
just go
other
through
rounds.
this map and then I'll open another map because this is heavily brawl focused, and I'll explain why it's brawl focused using space. So I'll do the grids and I'll also do the spaces. The main grids, let's walk a little bit farther back before you guys got pushed back a little bit. Or did you guys arrive slower? No, you guys lost first point. Okay. Okay, let's see. So let's go right here, right before the fight started. We have our main. We have another lane back here on the edge, and we have a lane in white. And then the grids is like such. Actually, I would say we're not in the greatest position. First grid is this. This is the second grid, and then you have this third grid. So I guess this is whole thing as main, just because it's a point. But yeah. Okay, so we have this is our main because you guys are red team. This is our main. This is our right. So we'll say R, L, M. And this map is good for tank for a fast comp, like a brawl comp, because you can engage on a team in contested space without having to take much poke. So if you look at Orion walking down main, if he walks down white and has a speed to cross this open way, he now is in prime position. If Orion is standing right here, in prime position, that if a team comes main or comes here, it's the shortest amount of time for Reinhardt to engage on them. So the least amount of poke you can take is the best for a brawl. So think about that. Let's go to a different map and explain why a brawl is bad on that map. See if the grid just automatically works. Probably not. Let me clear it. So, this map's good. Perfect, because this is a good brawl map if you know what you're doing.
Out of curiosity, which coach told you to go this comp?
This comp, I mean, I want to say it was Super Matt.
Oh, yeah, I figured. Okay. Just wanted to know.
Okay, so let's see. Right before the fight starts, I'll tell you why a brawl comp can be good here or absolutely terrible, depending on how you play. Okay, we see a TP on this team, which is the correct way to play. And this is why. Okay, so we'll do exactly the same thing. We have our main, and then we have a lane down here, and we have a lane in here. And this point is kind of part of the left lane. Now, when you're fighting on this point, the left lane becomes the edge, and your right lane becomes here. Or you can also flip the map, depending on how you want to look at it. And then this main choke becomes your main lane. I know that's confusing, but relative to you, it's always going to be there's going to be one lane right in front of you, which is your main. There's going to be one lane to your left, which is your left lane, and then one lane to your right, which is your right lane. Okay? And you can base that off of where your tank is fighting, basically, most of the time. Now, if your tank is a Reinhardt and it's someone that's, trying to be LH Cloudy, you might see him on the flank, and that's fine. In a usual situation, especially in scrims, you're going to have a tank in your main, and you're going to have the two flanks, your left and right lane, to for your DPS to take off angles off of. Okay, so we have our main lane, and we'll see exactly why Reinhardt is bad. So let's say a Reinhardt comes from this right side, and he walks main, and he starts walking like this to meet a team standing here with Sigma. This is terrible, right, for Reinhardt, because by the time he gets to Sigma, he doesn't have shield. So let's say he goes through this and goes in here. Well, Sigma can just start spamming from right here while the Reinhardt takes space. As soon as the Reinhardt shield breaks, that means the Sigma's DPS can now take a bunch of space, and the enemy team is scared because they don't have shields. They can get spammed way easier. So again, that's bad for Reinhardt. So if you play in both these styles, you're going to get punished against a good team. Now, let's say he TPs. Now you're forcing the Sig to walk into you, right? So a Reinhardt could stand right behind the pillar, right in the middle, that splits the two doorways, right from the TP, drop right there, and just wait for the Sigma to walk in. He doesn't have to peek. I see this in low ranks all the time. A Reinhardt peeking and shielding. Why? There is no reason to. Just wait. Just wait. Time is your friend as Reinhardt on this map. You wait right here, and the Sigma has to walk into you, right? Because the point is the objective of this map. If it's a payload, same thing. If you can use a corner to hide while still pushing payload, right? Then use it. There's no reason to peek a poke comp. You're going to lose. Now, if you can go on a flank and get to their team faster, sure, you have to communicate it to your team. But that's how you use lanes in this situation, okay? So the main lane is bad for Reinhardt. He has to TP to the right lane, force the Sig to walk into him, right? Keeping his space, maintaining his space. Think about it this way, going back to space. To take the space, the Reinhardt would need to use abilities. Same thing with Sig. If he wants to walk into Reinhardt, he's going to have to use abilities. So that means wherever they fight determines which team has an advantage, has an ability advantage. So just by knowing where I should stand on the map, which is built on which lane I'm in, I can get basically an artificial advantage against the enemy team just by standing in the right spot. Okay? Any questions? Anything to add, Bill?
I know that was really really tank driven, but it also applies the same thing with DPS driven ones. It applies to all of them. It applies to pretty much all
As
of them.
much as people don't like how OP tank is, because he's OP, it's your pillar. It's like it's who maintains your space, most of your space. You can still take space as a TPS. And it's the person who at the moment does the most damage. Some people say sadly. I think sadly as well. I think they should be more tanky, less damage. And your
No,
supports.
you complain. No, shut up, P2. You complain whenever it's like that. You're like, I'm just health pool. I'm just health pool.
I've never said that. When have I ever said that?
Silent, back me up here.
Have I said
Nah,
that?
actually can't back you up on that one. I've never heard Peter complain about that before.
Wow.
I love tanking. That's like I love tanking. Okay, I love tanking in other games because it is your job is to take attention. I like that. Right? I don't like shields. Shields suck. It's just a bad way to extend a health pool. And it's just for bad programmers that don't want to actually think creatively. It is what it is, though. But other than that, I hope that made some sense to how space is taken. Now, let me go to a thing, and I'll draw the space diagram that's in my brain at that time. Okay. Now you'll somewhat get how I think. Does not mean that's how everyone thinks, and I'm sure there are people that have better maps in their brain about this. But I'll show you what I think. So this is right before a fight. Let's go right. I mean, right in a fight. Let's go right before a fight. Why does it keep disabling that every time I move? It's annoying. This is all right before a fight. Right here. That's good. What are these dots? Okay. Because they're grouping up. That's fine. Let's see. As soon as you guys take some space. Okay, so you guys go for it. At least you guys are not defaulting. Okay, you guys go for a creative play. That's good. Okay, so in this situation, as much as this plays very good, your Pharah is staying with your team, which means she's not contesting any of the other lanes, which is, I think, Pharah is pretty good at, especially on this map. You can kind
Yes,
of
that's
infinify.
far as like whole rule.
Yeah, so you're doing Pharah a little bit wrong here, but that's fine. The problem here, and I'll draw the map first because that's what I said I was gonna do. And we're not doing a butter. We're not doing that. Okay, I'll just forget that. Doesn't matter. Okay, I'll do the map. This is all your space. I think you see the problem already. Your space is exponentially less than their space, but at least you can maintain it well, right? But in this situation, they're not going to engage you. They have the point. There's no reason for them to engage you. If they do engage you, they're throwing. Unless like one of you like messes up and they're just cleaning up, then they can do that. But this is all your space. Right? This is their space. So they have all this. They have the mega for sure. And in their mind, they don't know if anyone's going to contest this right side. So I'm not going to give them that space. In their mind, they probably think they have around this space. As soon as they saw you're at top, they have basically all the space for themselves. And I would say even the majority of point, probably. They can see into this, maybe like that. So this is all their space. Okay. This is the mental map I would have if I'm playing on their team. The contested space here is anything where you need to drop. It's basically up here, up in this area, right? And the choke point, but you don't have anyone contesting it, so now it's no man's land. So basically the only space here that's contested is this top here, right? If anyone tries to push here, they would get fired on. And where Ant is playing right now, actually, I would more categorize that as contest space because he can't stay here without getting shot. He's getting shot right now. Let me, if I can erase these lines. I would say that's more contested space at the moment until he establishes it as your space. For the time being, it's not yours. So this is what my mental map would be. Now, because you're playing a Doomfist, so this is a dive comp. You don't really mind the fact that there's not much contested space that you can do anything in. And you're not defending because you don't have the point. So you have to attack. You have to use abilities to take space, meaningful space, and probably on an enemy to take the point. Now, the most important part of this is that you got to take the point. Objective driven. You got to think about the objective first. The best that you can do here is jump on the BAP. Like, just force abilities from him. Now, he's not going to die, most likely. Just because your positioning to begin with is bad. Now, in my mental map, if I was thinking, oh, this is bad positioning, what should I say to best like upgrade our positioning? As a Pharah, Bill probably can attest this. You probably want to hug this, right, Bill?
That whole top side of the map as far as
Yeah.
domain.
Yeah, you want to hug this side. Probably no, not this side. Like that back L, and
I would even say that. I would even say the coasts.
yeah,
Boot range.
the whole thing.
All the way down to stairs. No, yeah, all that.
All this. Now, as soon as your Pharah does this, oh my god, it opens up the whole map. Because now this is not their space. This is contested. This is all contested. Right? Where the Pharah can see. She can also see here. She can shoot here. So basically, she makes all of their space now, at least the open space, all contested. Like this, she can shoot anywhere here. Maybe if they hug the wall, it's more like that. Because if they hug the wall and she's flying here, maybe she can't shoot them. But basically now all the space is contested.
How much do you know about like
And
just
they
Overwatch as a basic game? Like, what are the core
automatically,
principles of
you
it?
get an advantage by doing this. They have to back up to point. Right? the fair can just stand and wait until they back up point. As soon as they start backing up point, now you have an advantage because now they have to back out of space that is not theirs. They're probably going to use abilities. So they use abilities to back up, maybe a teleporter, probably in this situation, or they might speed boost to get out of the fair range. As soon as they do that, now you have advantage. You have an ability advantage, you have a space advantage, and you have them all in one place, which is perfect for dive comp. They back up, you jump on them. Perfect. All done by the fact that your Pharah takes more space just by playing in a different position. Is that a more clear example of what is happening in your mental map as you fight?
I would also like to also specify the same applies to long range hit scans and Sojourn.
Yes.
Just clarifying. The idea with Pharah and taking all that space applies to Widow. Like you guys have all played those. Like you guys, I'm sure you guys have all played against Smurf Widow, right? Right. Now what happens if the Smurf Widow is standing down the corridor and you guys need to walk into the corridor? And the mental map, like the Far is or the Widow or the Far or the Hanzo or the Sojourn or whatever it is, the Ash is controlling all that space, and that's why people are still having arguments about projectile DPS versus hit scan DPS. And
Oh,
like,
I should make it clear. Pharah is not OP here. As soon as she goes here, go Widow, stand here. All this space is back to theirs because the Pharah can't peek. Widow is more OP than Pharah in most situations. If the Widow is good, like if the Widow just stands right here and just shoots at the Pharah, now the Pharah has to back up, and all the space is back to being theirs. Just by making a compositional change to make sure that your space is maintained. But you guys are the red team. Take advantage of the fact that they have a bad comp against it. They have a very bad comp against what you're using. So play correctly and take advantage of that. As soon as they switch Pharah, you're gonna have to change how you're playing as Pharah. As soon as they switch Widow, I mean, you're gonna have to change how you play as Pharah. But yeah, all dictated by that space.
DPS tanks have about pre-fights. DPS change the fights, but during the fight, tanks have a more likely chance of changing the flow of the fight in the space. I think that's a just general good rule of thumb. Like a Widow can peek a corner and lock down a lane, but during the fight, a Sigma can just walk forward, or Bubbles can just walk forward, or a Reinhardt Shield can just use resources to go forward.
Any questions? That was a lot of information, I know. Like right now, I want you guys to think about the most recent fight you had in Overwatch. Maybe you just played comp. Maybe like a few days ago you scrimmed. I want you to think about it and try to make a map, a mental map of every second that you're playing. As soon as you get that ability, just unconsciously making that map, that means you can focus more on your macro stuff, making kill boxes, stuff like that, dynamically based on the map that you've already created unconsciously. You just make a kill box like instantly. Right. I hope that helps. Also, it'll help you taking angles, taking positions. As soon as you have that mental map, it's so much easier to do all of that. Any questions? Okay. Bill, anything else?
I have something to add actually. You touched on it a little bit, but you didn't talk about it more in depth. Can you go to a map and a fight that's not Brawl?
Not Brawl. Let's see if they play any poke.
Or literally just go to a fight where the players aren't stacked onto each other.
Let's see here. Probably on this next map. Maybe a team goes white. We can see something. I can just create one.
You could also do that too.
Okay, what do you want to show? I'll create it based on that.
I want to describe further and like if you're unable to take neutral or contested space because they're holding their own space too well, and like if you do take that, it's not going to give you an advantage. How you should be taking their space and what the difference is between like because sure like they all hold their space collectively, like you said you have the boxes, that's the space they do hold. However, they put more resources into some areas of that space than they do in the others, and I want to emphasize how to look for weaknesses in space and where you should be looking to take their space because of their weaknesses.
Oh yeah, because I didn't really show much contested space in that last one. I understand. Okay, so this, I would say there's their space to start a map. This is probably this. Oh, I should change the color. This is this team's space. Getting pinged. I don't want to open it because I will leak. That's a problem. Okay. Oh, okay. That's someone else. Okay. I won't leak that. Okay. This is all this space. This is all this space. And let's say for some reason you have Sigma comps on both teams on this map. Let's just assume that that somehow happens. In comp games, it can happen. This will all be contested. This will be your contested space. And silent, I think I understood. You want me to clarify how to take this yellow space, correct?
No,
No.
I
Okay.
don't want you to clarify how to take the yellow space.
Mhm.
Okay, so make it so we're team red on the left side, trying to break through the choke points on left, like coming to left to point. We're trying to break through one of the choke points, and
Like
we've been
on-
held the entire map. We've been held like 80%. These guys are crazy strong. We don't know how to break through.
Okay, so they have the point. Right. And probably the sides of the point. And this will still be contested space. They might. This is more like no man's land here. It'll be more like such. Contested space. You're coming out of choke. Are they holding choke? Or are they on point?
Yeah. They're holding choke.
They're holding choke. This will be your space. Honestly, this would be contested now. So they can kind of shoot you there and boop you. Okay, go ahead, Simon. What do you want me to show here?
Okay. Just like make up like a fake team comp and just put them.
Fake T-comp? A poke?
Yeah. Yeah, but make a poke defense, and then say I don't know. Say we have a dive offense.
Okay, we have a Sig playing like over here. We have, I don't know, poke. Just gonna go with the traditional poke that you would play in like a circuit. I know this is not circuit, but it is what it is. We have Widowmaker. She can play like back here, but let's say it's traditional. She's more in the main lane. This would be again the right lane of the right team, the team on the right. So that she can either play on the right lane, the left lane. She can play in the house, peeking this angle maybe, something like this. She can peek this angle. But let's say she's traditional. She's playing right here. Let me put a W. Wait, Vida. And let's say we have a Sojourno. Sojourno playing in the house. So we have two Sigs. So Sig, Soj. And then we have, let's go Bab Zen. No, Zen playing kind of where Sojourn is, and Bab playing in this, or inside with the thing. Is this good?
Yeah, that's fine.
And then enemy attacking is what, poke or brawl?
Dive. Let's do like a normal
Dive.
like dive, monkey dive comp or whatever.
I'm gonna actually give black monkey. Traditional. Traditional.
Let's do Kiriko, Lucio, Tracer, Sojourn.
I was gonna do Moira Lucio. Traditional. Tracer. Guessing they're stacking. They're gonna push. Are they doing it correctly or no? Like, is the Tracer taking a angle behind, or no? Diving with them.
The tracer can be on an off angle or push with them. It doesn't matter.
Okay, let's say the Tracer's back here, putting some pressure. Lucio, Kiriko, Moira. Lucio's not gonna be standing here. Say he's more wall climbing over here. Is that okay? Or do you want him to push with the monkey at the same time?
Lucio can be there. It's fine.
Okay, and then we have Kiriko Monkey. I'm missing somebody.
DPS.
A Reaper. So Reaper's just standing on the monkey. Okay. Now what? Taking the space?
Okay, so this all the yellow space here should be blue, right?
Yes.
Because that's the
yeah,
enemy space that they have.
Yes. So this
And then
would
the
be-
bridge is yellow.
this would be blue. I don't want to ruin the names. This would all be blue. All of it. Because it's a poke. And poke is OP. I guess this little bit would be yellow. And this little bit would be yellow just because Lucio's here. But other than that, that would be about the same.
So now this since you're running like a dive comp into a poke comp, getting the contested space isn't really going to do you much, right? Because if you just stand in that contested space, they're just going to back up, use their space, and use their longer range to punish a comp that just sits in that space.
Mm-hmm.
So as a dive comp, you actively want to be looking to take the enemy space.
Mhm.
And it's most crucial to learn and to notice what space can be taken more easily than others. Because a lot of the times I hear like oh, just like dive the supports or like dive the backline or whatever, like every time you want to take space. And while that's like it can be a good rule of thumb, it's not always necessarily true. Because look, right now, let's say that your team wanted to hard dive their backline. The furthest in the back would be the Widow. So a Tracer goes in, that's the closest person they can get to. But even if the Tracer goes in, she's directly next to Bap, Zen, and Widow. And what's going to happen to a Tracer? She just blinks into that. Widow's just going to hit her body. Zen's going to tap her. Bap is going to shoot her once, and she's just fucking insta-dead, right? And the people in main are going to take way too long to get in. They're going to take so much poke walking in the contested space. And then once they actually dive in, they're going to be dead by the time they get there anyways. So this would be an instance where the Widow playing back here is actually a strong sense of the space that they control. Because look how many players and look how many LOSs they have on their Widow. If you are to jump the Widow, Bap, Zen, Sojourn, and Sig can all turn around and look at her. However, an area of weaker contested space that they currently own is their Sojourn. Because if your core jumps onto Sojourn right now inside the house, the Widow doesn't have LOS of the house. The Zen has LOS of the house if he plays in the house, but if he plays in the house, he puts himself at risk. So the only other person, or maybe the Sig is LOS. So the only two people that can look at Sojourn is Sig and Bap. And if you send your core onto the Sojourn, that forces 3 players against 3 players. And now, since your Bap and Sig are looking at the Sojourn, your Tracer or your Lucio can maybe go like fuck around with the Sig a little bit. Like if your Lucio goes for like a boop on the Sig, now you have your 3 players on their 2 players, which means that their Zen has to go make that even again, so it's 3v3. And now since your Tracer is taking an off angle on the flank on this wall, she can now go take the 1v1 with a Widow, which is in her favor. Right? So since your guys' core made use of their weakest area in the space, which is the Sojourn, because she has the least amount of LOS towards her from her team, she has the least amount of support, this is the least supported space, then you can force them into different areas and rotations and make openings for other players on your team to take other areas of space. Does that make sense? It's like a domino effect.
God damn, Silent is a good coach. God damn. Fucking hell.
So, like another instance of like taking bad space because it's reinforced strongly is also like if you were to go on the BAP, because the BAP is literally in the middle and has LOS of like all 4 of his teammates, right? So you would jump on the BAP, but everyone can look at you and everyone can shoot at you. Same thing with the SIG, everyone can look at you, everyone can shoot at you. But if you look in areas that have like the least amount of pressure or they can give the least amount of assistance to, those are usually areas you want to start with by taking the enemy space. Because you take that out, you force them into a smaller sense of space and they have less options. And having less options in Overwatch is like insanely crucial. Or having more options is insanely crucial to winning games because the element of like unpredictability in like what you can do and how many options you can exhaust. And this really plays a good part in the game if you have control of the point too, because you can have all these options you use before you burn down your time. Like if you're defending payload, if you have capture of the point, all you want to do is burn time, right? So the more options you can use, the more time you can burn, the better it is.
God damn. I'll add, you can also very easily see the fact that most of their team is in the main lane, and the weaker side of the lane is their right lane. So that's an easier even easier way to identify which lane is their weakest and where you potentially want to dive. Very simply. Any questions on that? That was a very clear example by Sally. Beautifully done. Beautifully orchestrated. Anything, Bill, as well? You want to add?
No, I was just about to say, Overwatch 2 is a lot more of a dynamic game, fast paced, like a lot of faster cooldowns are better now. Not even in the sense of being like up faster, but in the sense of like being more proactive. Like, and if you guys notice in your scrims, going first is a lot better. If you guys ever played 6-man versus 6-man, it's a lot similar to Overwatch 2 is more similar to playing 6-man versus 6-man versus playing like double shield, right? Double shield and like simple shield comps in Overwatch 1 are very rigid. You could very easily draw the lines of where to peek and where not to peek, what to where to rotate, where not to rotate. But in Overwatch 2, the devs did a very, very good job, and I think they did this purposefully, of taking a tank out to make it more fluid, because quite easily, like, more mobile more mobile tanks and DPS can just do more. And that's why support's also in a bad situation right now. So yeah, it's just a lot faster of a game.
I think that's everything. Actually, right on the mark, 9:35. We can do other VOD reviews about the other stuff. There's a bunch of other fundamentals that you guys can go through. Remember that you shouldn't just overwrite your previous knowledge. You should take what we just said, combine it with what you know, or what you think you know, and try to improve from that. And actively try to improve in this way. Play to learn, not to win.